Another woman accused my girlfriend of infidelity. I really need help. 2 days ago, my brother received a message from a woman on Facebook who was inquiring about me. He asked her what she wanted, and she requested my phone number but refused to disclose her reasons. She insisted on speaking with me directly. The woman shared her name with my brother, but I had no idea who she was. I asked my brother to find out how she knew me. After contacting her, my brother informed me that she didn't have a personal connection with me but was aware of my girlfriend and needed to convey something important. I decided to share my phone number with her through my brother. Roughly 30 minutes later, she called me. She explained that she couldn't talk for long because her husband would return soon. She had been trying to reach me for a week but couldn't locate me on social media. Eventually, she resorted to messaging people with my last name, and that's how she connected with my brother. She identified herself as the wife of a man whose name she provided, but I had no knowledge of him. She claimed that he works with my girlfriend and that they've been having an affair for 9 months. At first, I found it hard to believe, but she insisted that she had evidence to support her claims. She requested to meet, and I mentioned I was away until Saturday morning and I could meet her sometime when I was back, to which she agreed. Due to my work, I've been home for just 3 weeks out of the last 9 months. This made me realize that it's entirely possible for my girlfriend to have had an affair without my knowledge. I don't know what advice I'm looking for, but for the last 2 days, I have been researching the internet nonstop and came across this site. Edit. Thank you to everyone who has responded. I'm sincerely hoping that the woman may have confused my girlfriend with someone else. However, my doubts are substantial because she seemed to know my girlfriend's full name, her workplace, and a few other personal details. Currently, I'm away from home and won't be returning until tomorrow morning. My girlfriend called, and it was incredibly challenging not to mention the name of the man. Somehow, I managed to keep my composure, but she sensed something was amiss and kept asking if I was okay. I simply explained that I was planning to turn in early since I'll be traveling back home in the morning and need to be up early. I've been attempting to sleep, but I can't seem to doze off. I've been reading stories here, and I'm bracing myself for the worst. 9 months is a considerable duration for an affair. I didn't share much about our relationship in my previous post, but we've been together for nearly 12 years. When I met her, she already had a daughter, whom I've raised since she was 2, and she now calls me Dad. We share a very close bond. Although we live together, we maintain separate bank accounts. If the allegations about her affair turn out to be true, I won't be seeking reconciliation. I understand that some people can work through such situations, but I'm not one of them. She's aware of this, and we've discussed it extensively over the years. My only concern is that she might use our daughter to pressure me into reconciliation. I hope she doesn't resort to such tactics, but I'm unsure of what she might do if she has indeed been having an affair. Update: 1 day after the first post, I arrived home and found it difficult to act normally in front of my girlfriend. She sensed something was wrong, but I simply said I was exhausted from the drive. My daughter inquired about our usual plans, and I assured her we would, but it would be later than usual as I needed to go to the office and hand something in. I messaged the woman I'd planned to meet, suggesting 1 p.m., and asked her to select a meeting place. I arrived early at the place she mentioned, waiting outside for her. She arrived and proposed we find a table. I offered to get her a drink, but she declined. We engaged in small talk, and she kept apologizing but emphasized that she wanted me to know the truth. We chose a discreet table at the back to avoid prying eyes. She produced a folder from her bag, primarily containing printed messages along with pictures from July and August. However, she couldn't provide evidence for the full 9-month duration of the affair. She told me that her husband hadn't been followed the entire time, but insisted it had lasted 9 months based on a phone she had discovered. She handed me the folder to look at. Initially, the phone number didn't match my girlfriend's, but the pictures left no doubt. They depicted her and the guy leaving his house. There were no photos of them at our place, but she suggested they could have been, but she had no evidence. I didn't need to see everything. I had seen enough. I reassured her she had nothing to apologize for and thanked her. She mentioned she was divorcing her husband. She told me he has said he has had no contact with my girlfriend for the last 3 weeks and also left his job to prove he wanted to mend their marriage. She had little faith in reconciliation, given this wasn't the first time he cheated and his family never believed her last time. This is why she had been collecting evidence to prove he was a lying POS. She couldn't be sure if he had truly stopped, but she was done gathering evidence as she was committed to ending the marriage. We discussed what I was going to do. I said I don't know. I thanked her and apologized for what my girlfriend had done to her family, and I promised to reach out when I confronted her. After we left the place, I hopped into my car and called my brother to fill him in on the situation. We had a lengthy conversation, and there was a lot of crying. He kept asking what I was going to do. I don't actually know, but I can't go home. I'm too angry to go. I told him I was going to a hotel for a few nights. I asked whether he could look after my daughter for a few hours. When I do go home this way, I could have a private conversation with my girlfriend without our daughter being present. My brother agreed. I'm currently in a hotel, and I've been going through all the messages. Most of their conversations revolve around making plans to meet up, and I've also come across several pictures they've exchanged, some of which I really wish I hadn't seen. I can't hold back the tears. I've read that some people find counseling helpful. Maybe I should consider it for myself. Perhaps it could make a difference. However, right now, I'm not sure if anything can ease my pain. What I do know is that I can't return home until I've managed to have my anger under control. Normally, I'm not an angry person. I'm pretty laid back and calm. My girlfriend keeps trying to reach me, though. She knows I'm in a hotel, just not the specific one I'm at. Edit. I want to say thank you to everyone who has reached out. I may not respond to each of you individually, but I want you to know that I've read all your messages. My brother has been a tremendous support during all of this. He went through a similar situation with his wife, but he chose to stay for the sake of their children. In my case, I've made it clear that I won't stay, and my brother mentioned that getting counseling isn't necessarily difficult, just that there may be a waiting list. I might consider paying for counseling to expedite the process rather than going through my doctor. Someone asked if my girlfriend knew that I was aware of the situation. She probably does, but she hasn't brought it up with me, and I haven't disclosed my knowledge either. It's unusual for me to stay in a hotel right after returning from a trip, which has raised many questions from her. I've mostly ignored her messages. Her behavior became strange once I returned from my work trip, but she hasn't said anything directly. I initially planned to go through all the information I've received, but it's simply overwhelming. I've come to the realization that I don't want to continue the relationship with my girlfriend, and I don't see the point in seeing all the details. I understand that I need to confront her about this, but I'm currently too overwhelmed with anger to do it effectively. I've decided to wait until I have a clear head, which might take a few days or so, before confronting her. Edit 2. I want to explain why it's important for me to maintain self-control when speaking to my girlfriend. It's not about my actions, as I would never resort to violence against a woman. It's more about my girlfriend's reaction. She tends to shut down and become unresponsive if I raise my voice or display any signs of anger. This reaction isn't a result of something I've done, but rather a consequence of the way her ex-husband treated her over the years. I'm aware of the emotional trauma she has endured because of him, and I'm committed to not causing her any additional pain. Even though I don't know the complete details of her past, I want to ensure that she never feels like I would use her trauma against her. Therefore, I feel the need to carefully consider how I approach any conversations with her. I plan to confront her either tonight or tomorrow, after my daughter goes to school. I will be going home today to see my daughter while her mother is at work. Edit 3. I'm trying to understand her messages. I've read about 4 months' worth of messages, and they mainly mention meeting up without much other content. They do have pictures, but my girlfriend doesn't show her face. Not that it matters. There might be more details in the other messages. I haven't read all of them. I don't believe their affair lasted only 9 months. I think it's been going on longer. From the messages I've seen, it appears purely physical. Usually, there's some emotional connection before a physical one, but it seems like they skipped that part. It's strange because it's as if she got the phone, and the physical aspect started immediately. The very first message on the new phone is him texting a location to meet up. Another puzzling thing is why she needed a separate phone. I wasn't home most of the time. The only explanation I can think of is that I paid for her phone, so she might have been afraid to use it. But this is just a guess. I talked to my girlfriend and told her we needed to have a discussion tomorrow. She sounded worried on the phone and kept asking what it was about, but I assured her we would talk about it tomorrow. Update: 3 days after last update. I called my girlfriend to let her know I was heading home and that I intended to drop off our daughter at my brother's place. I explained that we needed to have a talk once I returned. She asked what it was about, to which I responded, "You know what it's about. I'll be back home soon, and we can discuss it then." She attempted to play dumb and tried asking more questions, claiming she didn't understand, but I chose to end the call at that point. I arrived home and had a conversation with my daughter, letting her know that we wouldn't be doing anything that evening, but reassured her that I'd make it up to her this week. I mentioned that I was planning to take her to my brother's place, and she agreed. However, my girlfriend asked why our daughter needed to go. I explained to her that there were certain things we couldn't discuss in front of our daughter. Her face turned white, and I assured her that I wouldn't be away for too long. When I returned home, I asked her if there was anything she wanted to share about anything from the past 9 months. She responded, "Why are you behaving like this?" I then mentioned the name of the guy involved and said I knew that she had been seeing him for the past 9 months. I explained that there was no reason for her to deny it since I already knew everything. She became emotional and continued to deny much of what I was saying. She even offered me her phone to check for evidence of an affair, but I declined, explaining that it wasn't the phone she had used. My response took her aback, but I told her that I already knew the truth and told her not to waste her time because I didn't care, as I knew all I needed to know and we wouldn't be staying together. During the next few hours, we went in circles, with her telling me she hadn't done anything and me telling her that I didn't care and I knew she had, and we wouldn't be staying together. She eventually admitted to the affair, not fully admitting it, as I know she is still lying. She said that it had ended and that she hadn't seen or spoken to him in 2 weeks. She was crying, begging for a second chance. She also attempted to explain that I had been away frequently and that she had been lonely. I pointed out that I had also been away from her, but had remained faithful. I emphasized that I didn't want this separation. It was her actions that had caused it, and she had destroyed not one but 2 families for what she had done. I told her I loved her and explained that she had hurt me, but we couldn't stay together. She broke down and I couldn't make out her words. Eventually, she told me she was willing to do whatever it took to keep us together. She suggested returning to counseling and promised to answer any questions I had. I responded by explaining that I'd wasted enough time talking about it because I didn't need to know everything and had made up my mind to end our relationship. I made it clear that I wasn't the one responsible for this. It was her actions that led us here. I told her it wasn't me who did this. It was you, and you think this is what I want. You think I want to tell you these things. Do you really think I want to separate? I love you, and you did this to me. You knew this would happen if you ever cheated, and you did it anyway. I asked about our daughter, and if she intended to prevent me from seeing her if we separated. She was surprised, asking why I would even think that. She told me she would never keep her away from me. I told her she knew exactly what she would be making me feel, and yet, despite all the pain and suffering your ex-husband put you through, you chose to repeat the same choices with me. I cannot and will not forgive you for what you've done to me. The sooner you come to terms with this, the sooner we can both move forward. I had no choice but to leave. She wouldn't hear me out. She just kept repeating the same things over and over again. I called my brother and asked if he would take my daughter home and make sure my ex-girlfriend was okay. I would be staying at a hotel for a few more nights until I felt like going back. Maybe I sound cruel in this post and seem like I don't love my girlfriend, but I assure you, I still do, and I believe I will for a long time, but I can't stay with her. OP answers some questions that give us some more details. Answer 1. I've been maintaining regular contact with my daughter, and she's aware of the reasons behind her mother's and my separation. Her mother did share the reason with her, though not all the details, just that she had been seeing another man. My daughter has suggested 2 options. Either I kick her mother out and move back home, or we find a house together. I've tried to explain to her that it's not that straightforward. This week, my daughter has planned various activities for us to enjoy after school. She usually writes them down, and we pick things to do by drawing them from a hat that she made when she was younger. Hopefully, we won't end up with anything involving heights like last time, as I'm afraid of heights. I'm looking forward to spending quality time together. Her mother has finally stopped contacting me. Answer 2. I didn't provide many details in my previous message, but we did have a more extended discussion about our daughter. It was the only time she seemed reasonable during our conversation. I've been considering the idea of reaching out to a lawyer to establish a custody sharing agreement, and I intend to explore this option further. Thank you. Answer 3. I've been traveling extensively for work, especially this year. Now, I have the next 4 months off from work. I'm unsure if this is a good or bad thing, but it does mean I'll have a lot of time to spend with my daughter. I hope my ex-girlfriend won't attempt to use our daughter against me, though I'm not entirely certain of her intentions. Currently, our daughter is quite angry with her mother, but I don't believe this will last forever. Answer 4. When I confronted my ex-girlfriend, she mentioned that she would explain to our daughter why we had separated. Initially, I didn't believe she would actually do it. However, after talking to my daughter, I realized that her mother had indeed told the truth, though not all the details, just that she was involved with another man. I'm hopeful that this might be a positive sign that her mother will be more cooperative with me in the future. The woman that contact me has reached out to me a few times since Saturday. Her husband has moved out, and she's proceeding with the divorce, even though he doesn't want one. She's had enough of him, and I've expressed my gratitude to her for what she's done for me. I wouldn't have known anything if it weren't for her. She's even invited me to go out for dinner, but I had to decline because I've promised to spend time with my daughter this week. The next challenging aspect for me is figuring out our living arrangements. I'm financially capable of finding my own place, but there's currently no need to do so because I own the house where my ex-girlfriend resides. I don't intend to force her out, and my ex-girlfriend has mentioned that she'll move once she finds another place. However, my daughter insists that I should push her mother to leave. I've made an effort to explain to my daughter that if I were to insist on her mother leaving, she would have to live with family members who are more than 3 hours away. This would result in less time for us to spend together. She argues that she's almost 15, not a child anymore, and should have the authority to make her own decisions. I've reminded her that despite her arguments and justifications, some of which left me stumped and others were quite amusing, I've told her that legally, she is still considered a child, and her mother won't simply leave her with me. Update 2, 7 days after the loss update. I've consulted with a family lawyer regarding adoption for my daughter. There are various factors to consider, both positive and negative. Firstly, my daughter currently bears my surname, a decision made when she was younger. However, her mother didn't follow the proper procedures for this, as it required consent from her biological father, which I know she will not have obtained. Another one is that my ex-girlfriend and I are separated. I'm working on finding the courage to discuss adoption with my ex-girlfriend. It involves her having to reach out to her ex-husband to relinquish his parental rights to their daughter, and I'm not sure how she'll react to that idea. The family lawyer has mentioned that she might not need to talk to him, but will have to at least get his contact information for the social workers. The positive aspect here is that the courts consider my daughter's feelings and desires when making their final decision, ensuring her well-being remains the top priority. Fortunately, I have a strong support system, and my brother has been particularly helpful. Currently, he's like my own personal counselor. I understand that this can't continue indefinitely, as he has his own family to care for, and he's not a professional counselor. However, he's been through a similar experience, and I've gained valuable insights from him about what to expect from counseling. He consistently emphasizes that counseling will be immensely beneficial for me. OP did not make any more updates,